All right, so today we're going deep on eviction hardship extensions.
Oh, yeah.
In California.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and it looks like you're maybe dealing with a possible eviction, and you've got some good stuff here. You've got like excerpts from an actual legal guide on these hardship extensions.
Okay.
And a whole guide.
Wow.
Called Navigating Eviction Hardship Extension and Rental Assistance in California.
That is comprehensive.
Yeah, so we're going to sift through all this.
Right.
Hopefully uncover some hidden gems that can help you navigate this whole situation.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it can be really tricky.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that these hardship extensions even exist.
Right.
They think once you get that notice, it's like game over.
It's like that secret weapon nobody knows about.
Shh.
So let's break it down for our listener out there who might be facing this.
Yeah.
You get that notice, but you're going through a rough time.
Yeah.
Maybe lost your job.
That's tough.
Medical emergency.
Yeah.
Something unexpected.
It happened.
And this is where this tool can be a lifesaver.
It really can buy you some time to either get back on your feet, catch up on payments, or find a new place.
It's a breather.
It is.
To kind of like figure out your strategy. And these sources lay out all sorts of situations that might qualify for this.
Right.
Loss of income.
Yeah.
Illness. Injury. Death in the family. Natural disasters.
That's a big one.
It's a pretty wide net
of
things that they're considering.
And what's really interesting is this isn't just some feel-good policy.
Right.
It's actually grounded in California law.
Okay.
So we're talking California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 9, 18 local ordinances, and even something called judicial discretion.
Okay.
Which basically means judges have some leeway to consider individual cases.
So there's hope. So let's walk through what typically happens during an eviction in California.
All right.
Just so our listener knows what to kind of expect.
Yeah.
First, that dreaded eviction notice arrives from the landlord.
Right. That's either going to be a 3-day notice to pay or leave.
Okay.
Or if it's a no-fault eviction, it's a 30 to 60-day notice.
Okay.
And here's the catch.
Okay.
If they don't respond properly to that notice, the landlord can actually file a lawsuit.
A lawsuit?
Yeah.
That sounds serious.
It is serious. It's called an unlawful detainer lawsuit.
No.
And tenants only have 5 days to respond.
5 days.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time.
That's not a lot of time.
To figure out your next move.
Intense.
Yeah.
And then if I'm understanding correctly, there's an actual court hearing.
Right.
Where a judge decides what happens next.
Exactly. And this is where it gets stressful for people.
Right.
But it's also where that hardship extension could maybe come into play and potentially change everything.
Okay, so this is where our listener needs to know exactly how to request that extension.
Right.
What are the steps?
So timing is everything.
Okay.
Ideally, you file that request before a judgment is entered in the case.
Got it.
You're going to file a motion with the court, lay out your hardship, clearly explain why you need more time.
So it's not just enough to say, hey, you know, things are tough.
Nope.
You need...
You got to back it up.
Receipts?
Evidence.
Yeah.
Hard evidence.
Okay.
Medical records termination notices, anything that proves you're not making this stuff up.
Got it.
And be prepared to actually explain this to a judge at hearing.
It sounds like preparation.
Preparation is key.
Is key.
Big time.
But even if our listener does everything right, gets granted this extension, it's not a permanent solution.
You know, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
How long do these typically last?
Well, it can really vary.
Okay.
Depending on the situation, and the judge could be a few days, a couple weeks, maybe even longer. But the point is, any extra time you get is a golden opportunity.
To take action.
To take action.
Yeah, either catch up on rent, find a new place, or explore other options.
Exactly.
Speaking of other options, you mentioned rental assistance programs earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
All right.
What kind of lifelines are out there?
Okay, well, California has a surprising number of programs to help tenants who are struggling financially.
Okay.
That guide we talked about, Navigating Eviction Hardship, breaks down some of the key ones.
All right.
At the state level, you've got the California COVID-19 Rent Relief Program.
Right.
And then there's the Housing is Key initiative.
And I imagine there's also local programs.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget about those.
Run by the cities.
Yeah.
Counties.
Cities and counties, they often have funds specifically for people facing eviction.
Okay. And then there are nonprofits, too.
So many nonprofits doing amazing work in this area, like Catholic Charities, the Salvation Army.
Yeah, right.
They might be able to help with housing costs or connect you with other resources.
So it sounds like there are a lot of lifelines.
There are.
But it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be.
To know where to start.
Especially when you're stressed out.
Yeah, you're dealing with this eviction.
Now, one thing a lot of people overlook,
Okay.
you don't have to just limit yourself to government programs.
Oh.
Have you thought about talking to your landlord directly?
That's a good point.
Yeah, sometimes a little human connection can go a long way.
For sure.
You know, maybe work out a repayment plan.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be open to a temporary rent reduction.
Okay.
It's worth exploring.
Definitely worth a shot.
But even if you are having those conversations,
Yeah.
the guides really stress the importance of documentation.
They do.
You got to keep detailed records of everything.
Like what kind of things?
Rent payments, maintenance requests,
Okay.
every communication you have with your landlord,
Wow.
photos of your unit's condition.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It seems like overkill, but trust me,
I see where this is going.
you need it. You
Yeah.
never know
Proof.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll say you didn't pay rent or that you damaged something.
Yeah.
You've got your records to back you up.
It's like receipts to
Correct.
prove your side of the story.
Yes. And when it comes to communication,
Okay.
stick to written methods whenever possible.
Okay, so
Email, text, certified mail.
email,
That way there's a paper trail.
text.
If things go south,
Yeah.
you've got proof
Okay.
of what was said and agreed upon.
So even if you have a phone call,
Even if it's casual,
yeah,
follow up with an email,
summarizing.
summarizing everything.
Got it.
Be specific.
Specific.
Don't just say, we talked about the rent.
Okay.
Say, we discussed a payment plan for the outstanding rent from June and July.
Okay.
And we're going to meet again on August 15th to finalize it.
Got it.
Leave no room for misinterpretation.
Those are some good tips.
I try to be helpful.
It makes me think about how I do things
Oh, yeah.
with my own landlord.
Good.
Another thing the guides mentioned,
Yeah.
knowing what resources are out
The
there
resources are key.
for tenants.
Yeah.
What organizations?
So many organizations dedicated to helping you guys navigate these rough waters.
Why do we find them?
Good place to start is your city
Okay.
or county website.
Okay.
They often have links to local housing resources and legal aid services.
Great.
There are also national organizations like the National Housing Law Project, the National Low-Income Housing Coalition.
Okay.
They offer a wealth of information and support.
It's amazing how much support's out there.
There's a lot.
But I imagine it's hard to know
It can be,
where to look
especially when you're stressed.
when you're in it.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to do your research before you need it.
Before you're in crisis mode. Yes. Familiarize yourself with your rights, local resources, and legal assistance options.
I like it.
You'd be glad you did.
It's like having that fire escape plan
For your housing.
for your housing.
You might never need it,
You might not.
but it's good to have it.
But if you do,
Just in case.
you're prepared.
Yeah. And speaking of plans,
Yeah.
the guides also talk about having a backup plan
Oh, yeah.
if you do end up
Yeah.
having to move.
You got to think ahead.
So start scoping out potential new places,
Absolutely.
reaching out to friends and family
Yeah.
about temporary housing.
Yeah.
Always better to have a plan B,
Always a plan B.
even if you're hoping to stay
Exactly.
in your current spot.
Hope for the best,
Yeah.
but prepare for the worst.
Yeah. Facing eviction
It's tough.
is tough.
But you can get through it.
It doesn't have to define you.
It doesn't have to.
By knowing your rights, using your resources,
Yeah.
and being proactive,
Proactive.
you can get through it.
You get a powerful message.
It's true.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power,
Especially when it comes to your housing.
especially with your housing.
Thank you for taking us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
To our listener,
You're not alone.
remember, you are not alone.
There are people and organizations out there ready to help.
Yeah, so we hope this deep dive has given you the information and the confidence you need to face this situation head on.
You got this.
Stay informed
Stay strong.
and know that you've got options.
You've got options.
We'll be back.
We'll be back in just a bit to dive even deeper into these hardship extensions and tenant rights in California.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We just scratched the surface of these eviction hardship extensions and tenant rights in California, but knowing your rights is just the first step. What can our listener actually do
Yeah.
with this information when they get that eviction notice?
Okay, well, first of all,
Yeah.
don't panic.
Okay.
I know it's scary,
But just because you get that notice
Right.
doesn't mean you're automatically out on the street.
Right,
It's
yeah.
the beginning of a process.
Okay.
And you do have options.
So don't panic.
Don't panic.
What's the next move?
You got to read that notice carefully.
Okay.
And I mean, really scrutinize every detail.
Okay.
Make sure it follows California law to the letter.
Okay.
You know, is it properly served?
Okay.
Does it state the reason for eviction clearly? Are there any errors, inconsistencies, anything that seems off?
So it's not just about what's in the notice.
Right.
It's about how it's presented.
Exactly. Landlords have to follow very specific procedures.
Okay.
And any misstep on their part could actually invalidate the whole thing.
Wow. So this is where it's helpful to have somebody in your corner who knows this stuff.
Absolutely. If you're unsure about any part of that notice, don't hesitate to get legal advice.
Okay.
A qualified attorney can really help you understand your rights and how to respond.
All right. So you've read the notice carefully. Maybe even talk to an attorney.
Yeah.
Now what?
Now you have to decide how you're going to respond.
Okay.
And you've got a few options.
Okay.
If the notice is for non-payment of rent,
Yeah.
and you can somehow come up with the money,
Right.
paying that outstanding amount might stop the eviction process right there.
That's the best case scenario.
It is the ideal outcome.
But I imagine that's not always
It's not always possible.
possible.
No.
What if you're dealing with a no-fault eviction?
Right.
Or you just can't afford to pay
Yeah. And then it gets trickier.
that back rent?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's where those hardship extensions we talked about can really come in handy.
Okay.
If you're facing a genuine hardship, gather all the evidence you can.
Medical bills, layoff notices, anything.
Anything that documents why you can't meet your rent obligations.
Okay. Got it.
And be prepared to present your case to the court clearly and convincingly.
Okay.
The judge needs to understand your situation
Right.
and why you need more time.
I know the guides also mention mediation
Oh, yeah. Mediation is a great option.
as a way to avoid going to court.
Potentially. Yeah,
Is that something worth looking into?
absolutely.
What is it?
So mediation is where a neutral third party
Okay.
helps the landlord and the tenant try to work out a solution
Okay.
that they can both agree on.
All right.
So it's often less formal,
Mhm.
less adversarial than going to court.
So like a referee
Exactly like having a referee.
to kind of help the conversation along.
Yeah. The mediator's job is to facilitate communication
Okay.
and help everyone find common ground.
So you can reach a compromise.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that works for both sides.
It can happen.
That sounds a lot less stressful.
Way less stressful.
Less expensive too.
Probably.
Yeah, for sure.
And even if you do end up going to court, a lot of judges actually encourage mediation
Really?
as a first step.
So it's definitely worth a shot.
Definitely, it's always better to try to resolve things amicably,
Yeah.
if possible.
If you can.
But even in mediation,
Yeah.
you need to know your rights
Okay.
and be very clear about what you're willing to negotiate.
So again,
Preparation is key
knowledge preparation.
at every stage.
Crucial.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Whether you're facing a no-fault eviction, a rent increase that's just too high, or a landlord who's not holding up their end of the lease.
Right.
Knowing your rights as a tenant in California is essential.
It's like that shield
It's your armor.
and a sword
Yes.
in this whole fight
You need to be prepared.
for housing.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest weapons you've got
Oh, yeah.
is that Tenant Protection Act, AB 1482.
It's a game changer.
We touched on it earlier,
Yeah,
but I think it deserves a deeper dive.
I agree.
What kind of protections does it offer?
Okay, so one of the key things it does
Yeah.
is limit how much landlords can raise the rent each year.
Okay.
That cap is currently set at 5% plus the rate of inflation,
Which changes.
which fluctuates a bit, yeah.
So it's not a set number.
It's not a fixed number, no,
Oh, it changes a little,
depending on the account.
depending on how the economy is doing.
Okay,
It's designed to keep rent increases reasonable
okay,
and prevent landlords from pricing people out of their homes.
all right. But like most laws,
Oh, there are exceptions,
I imagine there's a...
of course.
So newer buildings built after 2004
Okay.
are generally exempt from those rent caps.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's not a one-size-fits-all. No.
There are nuances.
Nuances, you got to pay attention to the details.
Yeah. That's why understanding the specifics
Yeah,
of how this law applies to you
right.
is so important.
Absolutely.
Okay, rent increases are capped.
Right.
What about evictions themselves?
That's the other major protection
Okay.
AB 1482 provides.
All right, yeah.
It establishes just cause eviction protections,
Okay.
which means the landlord can't just evict you on a whim.
So if they just decide they don't like your face,
Yeah, that's not good enough.
not a good reason.
Nope.
Oh.
It has to be a legitimate reason. Defined by the law.
Defined by the law. Yeah.
And talked about those.
He did. At fault.
And no-fault evictions.
Right.
So at fault is when the tenant does something wrong.
Right.
Like doesn't pay rent or violates the lease.
Right.
No fault is when the landlord has a reason. But it's not the tenant's fault.
Exactly.
And even in those no-fault situations,
Yeah.
AB 1482 requires landlords to provide some kind of relocation assistance.
In many cases, yes.
So even if you're being evicted
Right.
for no fault of your own,
Yeah.
you might be entitled to some financial help
Exactly.
to find a new place.
It can help soften the blow of having to move unexpectedly.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, especially with how expensive housing is in California.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so AB 1482 has been a huge victory for tenant rights in California.
Okay.
It's really shifted the balance of power
Okay.
and made it much harder for landlords to take advantage of tenants.
So AB 1482,
If you're a renter in California,
Yeah.
get to know this law.
new best friend.
It's definitely a powerful ally, but it's not a magic bullet.
Okay.
You know, there are still loopholes and limitations.
Right.
And even with these protections, dealing with an eviction is stressful.
So that's where
It is.
knowing your rights
Right.
and having those resources we talked about
Yes. Having those practical resources is crucial.
becomes so important.
It does.
Yeah. And that's where those advice guides you found come in.
They're so helpful.
They do.
They offer really useful tips
Yeah.
on things like meticulously documenting your interactions with your landlord,
Right.
finding legal help,
Yeah.
and navigating the court system.
Let's dig into those practical tips when we come back for the final part of our deep dive.
I'm ready.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah?
We've been talking about all this good stuff about hardship extensions and tenant rights in California, the legal stuff, the process documentation, AB 1482. But now let's get practical.
Yeah, let's do it.
What can our listener actually use here
Okay.
right now in this situation?
Well, one thing both of our sources really stress
Uh-huh.
is the importance of communication, even when things are tough.
Okay.
You know, it's tempting to lash out or just avoid contact when you're feeling stressed,
Right.
but that can really backfire.
So even if you're dealing with a difficult landlord,
Yeah. Even if they're being a jerk,
keep a cool head
keep it cool.
and communicate clearly.
Communicate clearly, be respectful.
Got it.
You know, the goal is to find a positive outcome,
Right.
whether that's staying in your current home
Yeah.
or finding a new place,
Right.
without totally wrecking your rental history.
Okay, so stay calm, communicate clearly.
Yes.
What else?
Documentation.
Okay.
You've got to document everything.
Everything.
Rent payments, maintenance requests, every single interaction with your landlord,
Wow.
and photos and videos
Oh, wow.
of your unit's condition.
That seems like overkill, but
It might seem like a lot.
yeah.
But trust me,
Yeah.
you just never know. What's going to happen down the road?
Right.
What if they say you didn't pay rent or you damaged something?
Okay, yeah, I get it.
You need proof.
You've got your receipts.
Yeah, your receipts, exactly.
To prove your side.
Yes, and when it comes to communication,
Okay.
stick to written methods as much as possible.
Email, text.
Emails, texts, certified mail.
Okay, so there's a paper trail.
There's a paper trail.
Got it.
So if things go south,
Yeah.
you've got proof of what was said and what was agreed upon.
So even a casual phone call.
Yeah, even just a quick chat on the phone.
Follow up with an email.
Yeah, just shoot them a quick email. Summarize.
Summarizing the conversation.
Exactly.
Got it. And B.
And be specific.
Yes.
Don't just say, we talked about the rent.
Right.
You know, say, we discussed a payment plan for the outstanding rent from June and July, and we agreed to meet again on August 15th to finalize the details.
Oh.
You know, leave no room for misinterpretation.
Very good tips.
I try.
I'm taking notes for myself. Another thing the guys talk about
Yeah.
is knowing what resources are out there for tenants.
Resources are everything.
Where do they find those?
Well, a good place to start is your city or county website.
Okay.
They often have links to local housing resources, legal aid services,
Right.
and then you've got national organizations like
Yeah.
the National Housing Law Project, the National Low-Income Housing Coalition.
Okay.
Those are great resources for information and support.
It's amazing how much is out there.
There is a lot of support out there.
But when you're in it,
Yeah, when you're in crisis mode.
yeah, it's hard to know.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, where to go.
Exactly.
This is why it's good to do the research
Do your research beforehand.
before you're in a crisis.
Familiarize yourself with your rights, your local resources, where to get legal help if you need it.
It's like a fire escape plan
Yeah.
for your housing.
For your housing.
You might never need it,
Hopefully not.
but good to have.
But if you do, You're ready.
And speaking of plans,
Yeah.
the guides also mention having a backup plan
Oh, yeah. Always have a backup plan.
in case you do have to move.
Yeah, things don't always go your way.
So start looking at apartments.
Yeah. Start scoping out potential new places.
Talk to friends and family.
Reach out to friends and family. Maybe they have a spare room.
How about temporary housing?
Yeah, you gotta have a plan B.
Plan B.
Even if you're hoping to stay put,
Yeah. Hope for the best.
prepare for the worst.
Prepare for the worst,
Right.
And facing eviction is hard.
It is incredibly stressful,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to define you.
It doesn't have to define you.
No.
Knowing your rights, using those resources,
Yeah.
staying proactive,
Being proactive is key.
you can get through it.
You can.
That's a powerful message.
It's true.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your housing rights.
This has been a great deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And to our listener,
Yes.
remember, you're not alone.
You are not alone.
They're people organizations
So many people and organizations out there
ready to help you.
ready to help.
We hope this deep dive has given you the information, the confidence you need to face this situation head on.
You got this.
Stay informed.
Stay strong.
Stay strong.
Know that you have options.
You have options.
We're here for you.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
Call now 714-442-9741. Thank you.